Hello, my name is John Kelsey. I'm National Trainer for Hard Hat Industry Solutions. This is a session from Red Rhino Academy, our complete training course in electrical and structured cabling estimating using Red Rhino software. Welcome to our session Structured Cabling Estimating Part 2 for Indoor Backbone and Outside Plant. This session is part 2 of a 3-part training session developed specifically for our customers that estimate and install structured cabling projects. These are my assumptions as we begin this training session. First, I'll assume that you know how to log on to Red Rhino, how to create an estimate, and how to create sections. I will also assume you have a clear understanding of how to do a material takeoff for structured cabling. And if you have not watched our session, or rather part 1 session on horizontal stations and closet build-outs, please watch that session first. This session builds upon the previous session. This session begins with a brief overview of the material takeoff forms available in Red Rhino and developed for structured cabling estimates, followed by how to estimate structured cabling projects using Red Rhino assemblies for indoor backbone and outside plant. We start from our home page and begin by taking a look at the material takeoff forms that Red Rhino provides specifically for structured cabling. These are available to be printed from the home page. In order to print out the structured cabling forms, at the bottom right of the page, click on Material Takeoff Forms box. The accordion menu opens and displays all available forms. Under the category Structured Cabling Takeoff Forms, notice the list which includes horizontal station assembly, closet build-outs, indoor backbone riser, and outside plant or outdoor backbone outside plant. Selecting any one of those will allow you to view them and print them. Simply click on the form and use your print options to print out the form. Now let's take a brief look at the blank indoor backbone material takeoff form. Like all other Red Rhino forms, this one includes lines in the header to fill in information about the project, such as the name, date, and other project identifying details. Each form contains a second page where you can include miscellaneous materials that you may need for the project which do not clearly fall into specific categories. Since we began by assuming that you know how to do a material takeoff, we move to a look at what the indoor backbone material takeoff would look like once it's filled in. This is a view of the indoor backbone material takeoff form. The form on the left is page 1 and the form on the right is page 2. Red Rhino has assemblies listed in the same order as they're listed on the indoor backbone material takeoff form. At the top of the list is the copper cables 25 pair through 1200 pair. In this example, I included one 300 pair copper cable. The group below that are coax cables. I included one RG11 coax cable. At the bottom of the list are fiber cables, 6-strand through 36-strand, both single mode and multi-mode. In this example, I included one 6-strand single mode and one 6-strand multi-mode cable. On the miscellaneous page to the right, I included 120 ceiling supports, 220 patch cords, dressing materials and pulling supplies, copper patch panels, copper termination hardware, grounding materials, and miscellaneous documentation. Next, I'll show you how to enter the materials into Red Rhino using structured cabling assemblies for indoor backbone. From the home page, the accordion menu should have Estimate and Proposal menu open by default. I click List Estimates and Rhino will display the estimates you've already created. Again, if you've not watched the session called Structured Cabling Part 1, please do so. I click on the estimate named Structured Cabling. This is the estimate I created to demonstrate how to use structured cabling assemblies. The estimate page's top portion displays information about your estimate, including estimate name and description. The bottom portion is called sections. I want to point out that you don't have to create multiple sections. It's a matter of preference how you set up sections to break out pricing. You could create only one section and enter all materials into that section, but creating separate sections will give you a better cost breakdown and make it easier for your customer to understand your estimate. In this session, I will input materials into indoor backbone and outside plant, and I'll cover information about some miscellaneous items. I want to reiterate an important point. There are 5 main categories of structured cabling estimating. Red Rhino has material takeoff forms for each category. We'll cover, let me say it again, we'll cover these two, indoor backbone and outdoor backbone, in this session. I click Edit Takeoff in the Indoor Backbone section to start inputting materials. Click on Assemblies, select 50, which is Structured Cabling Systems. Red Rhino displays the assemblies. Categories are again horizontal stations, closet build-outs, indoor backbone riser, outdoor backbone, outside plant, and miscellaneous. Next, I click on Indoor Backbone. There we go. Click on Indoor Backbone and it shows the assemblies listed below. At the top of the list of assemblies are indoor multi-pair copper, 25 pair to 1200 pair. Scroll down there. Clear up to 1200 pair. Next is coax. You see RG11, coax 0.5, coax 7 or 0.75, then 6 bundle and 12 bundle. Now at the bottom are the fiber cables, the first one being one multi-mode 6 fiber or one single mode 6 fiber. You'll notice that the list of fiber includes 6, 12, 18, 24, and 36 fiber, either multi-mode or single mode. Now it's time to demonstrate using assemblies. In this estimate, the cable running between the closets is one 300 pair cable. I type in 1 for 300 pair. Our estimate has one 6-stranded of single mode and one 6-strand of multi-mode. I'll input 2 to cover both. First I'll input my coax RG11, then scroll down and input my fiber. Again, you just type in the quantities here, scroll back up and click the Add button, and it'll populate to the page on the right there. You scroll the list up here. Now notice it gives me 150 feet of 300 pair copper. You can edit these amounts before you click the Save button. I'm going to say our sample estimate has a total length of just 100 feet of 300 pair cable. Just click in the box and change the amount to 100. I don't need to edit the number of terminations because terminations will remain the same since it's based on the pair count. This gives you 110 300 pair termination block at one end, and it does not give you anything at the other end. It gives you one side of the termination. It's got placeholders for things like wraps and saddles. If you need them, you just type in the quantity you want to include before you click Save. It gives you your labels and tags. It gives you your testing. I'm going to leave the rest of this the same and move on to coax. Here's your tags. Now we'll move on to coax. Next for coax, I input one run of coax, so Rhino added 150 feet of coax. I'll reduce the amount since my run is only 100 feet. I'll add a little bit extra to make up the ends, so I'll change the amounts to 130 feet. Just drill into the box, click in the box, change the quantity to whatever you want there. 130 feet in this example. Now it has all your connectors, your adapters. The assembly includes surface mounted box, or maybe it's going to be a 16-port patch panel. If it's going to be a patch panel instead of a surface mounted box, you just zero the quantity of surface mounted boxes. And type in a quantity of 16-port patch panel there, quantity of 1. Or it might just go to a splitter. In this case, it's going to go to a patch panel. Next is your fiber. With the fiber, you have to have slack loops, which would require some added length. I'm going to say that I need 150 feet of both multi-mode and 150 feet of single-mode fiber. There I'll set up the multi-mode and the single mode both for 150 feet. Now if this was a composite cable, let's say it's a 12-2 composite, I'd go over to the left and select that fiber. Go down here on the bottom, scroll down to the bottom here, and see what has your different fibers in there. I would select a 12, whatever you want, type in the quantity and click add there. That's how you do it. Now back to this assembly. This assembly includes the inner duct. It includes connectors needed. Since we're doing 2 cables, it automatically input 300 feet of inner duct. Since I had both single mode and multi-mode, I'm going to change the quantity of fiber optic distribution units to 2. Since they're both going to the same place, they're going to share a can. There's the fiber optic distribution unit. I'll change the quantity to 2. Again, to change any of these quantities, a lot of them are just reminders for you. Just drill in and put in a quantity. Eventually we'll zero out the quantities that are 0. We'll actually delete those out. Moving forward, I'll show you how to do that. Just change them as needed. Eventually you'll save your work. Click Save to save your work. And it saves all of your input there. Once the materials have been input into each section, again, I recommend that you delete the 0 quantities. To do so, just hold down the Control button on your keyboard, click on the lines that you want to delete, just left click on the lines, it'll highlight each line gray. Click the Delete button. Oops, looks like I accidentally clicked the Save button first. Let's try it again. You want to delete it before you save it. Again, hold down the Control button, Click on each item that you want to delete, click Save. Always click Save to save your work. Next, I'll navigate back to take a look at assemblies with miscellaneous items. Click the back button. I will not show them again, but I want to mention here that miscellaneous items are listed on page 2 of each material takeoff form, which you can print out from the home page. Here I'll select miscellaneous. Now I'll input a few miscellaneous items. These miscellaneous items actually are assemblies that contain many or various items in them. There you go, top to bottom, there's the list. I'm going to start by putting in 120 ceiling supports. There we go. Next are patch cords. Our estimate has 110 jacks in the horizontal. I'm going to type in 220 patch cords like was on the takeoff sheet example. We need to have patch cord at each end of the station and at the closet, so 220 patch cords. And dressing materials is next. I've got a closet's worth, so I'll input a quantity of dressing materials. Same with pulling supplies. Again, I'm going to type in a quantity of 1 because it's going to give me some options on different pulling supplies there. Put in pulling supplies. I'm going to input a quantity of 1 copper patch panel. Again, these items were on the material takeoff example sheet there. I'll input a quantity of 1 termination hardware. See how you just go down the list? Type in the laundry list of items you need. Put in plates and boxes and adapters. Again, these are miscellaneous items. And scroll down here a little further. Input a quantity of grounding materials there. Once I input these, I'll show you what's on the list. Miscellaneous documentation, I'll put that in, capture labor for that. It does take labor for documentation. Then I click the Add button. Again, same drill. Click Add, it populates all the material lists to the right. I'll scroll up to the top. Red Rhino added patch cords or J-hooks with wires at the top. Ceiling supports is first there. There we go. There's your ceiling supports. I added 120 of them. I can delete the J-hooks with the rod and the J-hooks with the beam clamps if they're not needed. If our project had a standard ceiling environment, I might need 1 or 2 of these. In this case, I'll just end up deleting them. Red Rhino added patch cords for copper. But I'm going to add fiber patch cords here. I'm going to input 30 patch cables for fiber. Make that 24. I'll type in 24 patch cords. Also, I'll put in 4 coax patch cords there. Right there, just type in the quantity of 4. Like I said, 2. Changed it to 2. There we go. Next is tie wraps. I know I need more than 1 bundle of tie wraps, so I'm going to change the quantity of tie wraps to 10. See how you do this? You just go through the list. These are reminders. A lot of them don't even have quantities populated in here, but you just type in the items that you need and the quantities you need. Go down the list, type in what you need. Eventually you save your work. It's going to save labor for all these items. And eventually it's going to create, you'll be able to create a material list with this also. Now again, Red Rhino doesn't have material pricing in here. You get that quoted from your vendors, but you're capturing labor hours to install these items. Here's your pulling supplies. Got 1 bucket of string included. I'll type in a roll of tape. It's a 10-pack rather. If you needed a blower or a sniffer, you'd include them here. If you had to use an attendant for the manhole cover or manhole work, you'd include it here. Next is copper patch panels. Type in 3 48 port patch panels. I'm going to include 6 strain relief bars. Again, just go down here, input the quantity of stuff you need here. A lot of these are reminders for you. I'll put in a tower frame, 300 pair tower frame. 110 jumper, 2 of them. Next is plates and boxes. I want the face plates to be furniture mounted instead of wall mounted. I'll input 45 of the 2-port furniture face plates. And I'll add 50 of the 2-hole mechanical lug bases. Let me include 5 of them. So see, again, you just go in here, you drill in here, you change the quantities to what it should be, and eventually the program is going to show you a breakdown of labor in each section for what you've input here. Now on the next session, session 3, I show you how the program displays on the recap a cost breakdown. It shows you how many hours are in the job, and I'm going to show you in session 3 also where to input your quoted materials and expenses. Here I'm adding for, this is where you add for submittals, record drawings. Record drawings take time. I'll throw in some labor for that. Closeout package. Put in a quantity, one of those. The program's going to add 8 hours for that. And also warranty labor. The program will add labor for warranty labor. When you're all done, you just go up to the top, click the Save button to save your work. Again, I recommend that you go through each section and delete each line that has a 0 quantity. Now, I showed you this in session 1, but I'll quickly review some editing functions of how to delete, how to change things in the estimate here. Later on, you can create a material list, and the materials with 0 quantities would show up, so you want to make sure and delete those. You delete one line at a time. Just click on it, it turns gray. Click the delete button, and then always click the save button to save your work. Always save your deletion there. Now here's how to delete, again, multiple lines simultaneously. What you do is hold down the control button, click on the lines that you want to delete. In this case, they are all 0 quantities. Just left click on each one of these, hold down the control button, highlights them gray, click delete, click save. You can delete multiple lines that way. Again, scroll down to the bottom of the page and delete each line with a 0 quantity. I want to explain something about outside plant. Let me get there first. There, outdoor backbone, outside plant. You estimate outside plant the same way you would input indoor backbone. You drill down into the section you want to work on, navigate to the outside plant assemblies, input and edit the assembly components, and save your work. I won't demonstrate that right now. It works almost exactly the same as indoor backbone. A lot of the materials are approximately the same. With this, we conclude our training session on Red Rhino. In this session, we covered how to use indoor backbone assemblies and explained how outdoor backbone or outside plant OSP assemblies work in the same manner. Just navigate to the assembly you want to include, input the quantity, adjust the quantities in the assembly as needed, and save your work. This is John Kelsey saying goodbye for now. Thanks for joining me in this session of Red Rhino Academy.